Class, and welcome to this week's lesson 11. I know it's getting exciting. We're down to the wire here. We just got a few more weeks. We just really got lesson 11, 12, and 13. Those are kind of the ones with the most, I don't know, what you say, new material. Lesson 14 at the very end, that's always just kind of a review week and overview of what you learned during the semester. So only 3 more weeks of new material. So I know that it's getting exciting. You're almost done. It's also getting a lot harder probably because it is summertime. A lot of people want to do vacations and go out. I'm guilty of that too. I'm a big fan of summer. We like going camping. We like going to lakes on the weekend and just hanging out at them and swimming and whatnot. So I am guilty just as much as anybody of wanting to play in the summer. But try and stay focused. You just got a few more weeks. The workload does pick up here at the end. I know some of you have already been feeling that, and it kind of continues throughout the rest of the semester. And part of that is just because as you go throughout the semester, you learn more and more, and things just build on each other. So some things kind of feel like it's a lot more work, but then some things might feel like it's a little bit easier by now because you've already done it so many times, like some of the math stuff. But then you're still learning things, and they tend to be more complex. So it's kind of a mix and match. So just power through it. You're getting there. Keep keep well rested. Keep your routines up. Keep planning your time out accordingly. And I know you can do it. So this week, as we look at what we've got in store for our life skills portion, we're going to continue. We're going to continue talking about thinking errors. I know we started talking about those last week, but the main thing that we're going to be doing is on our thinking errors is we're going to be talking about how we can overcome those thinking errors using something called the STAR method, which is stop, think, act, and reflect. Sorry, I had to look at my notes. I get nervous when I turn this thing on. But anyway, so what you're going to do, and it's kind of fun, it's an application activity that you're going to do this week around thinking errors. It's kind of similar to how you were tracking your finances, but you're going to be tracking, you're going to pick a day. I guess it's more similar back to like when we had you track everything you did during a day. Very similar to that, but you're going to pick one of the thinking errors from, if you go back to the previous week's lesson, I'm trying to remember the exact amount. Was it 8 or 10 different thinking errors that we talked about that week? You're going to pick one of those, and you're going to track how many times in a day you commit that thinking error, right? And it's kind of fun. It's one of these things that's it's meant to reflect on, and then you kind of think, oh, what might have caused this thinking error? So that's going to be your application activity this week, and big portion of the life skills. For English this week, we're going to continue working on our persuasive essay. We're going to start focusing on the counter argument portion of the persuasive essay. And I really like the counter argument. And the reason why is because in any sort of debate, any sort of, anytime you're trying to convince somebody to do something, you got to be prepared for a counter argument, or to try and, the way I think about it is you got to make sure that you're showing that you're trying to see it from their viewpoint as well, right? Because if I'm trying to tell you, hey, believe this, believe this, believe this, right? And I seem really narrow-minded, and I'm not willing to think outside, right? I'm asking someone to change, but yet I myself wouldn't be willing to change. So I feel like a counter argument is really important because that kind of shows, I think this way, and I've also thought about the other viewpoint as well, and I've decided on this. So it makes you not look so maybe narrow-minded. So think about that as you're reading this week. Counter arguments. If I read a paper and it didn't ever, it's trying to say, teach me one specific thing, and it's especially one thing, science and math and stuff like that. Sometimes counter arguments are hard to do because they're these type of problems where it's like 2 plus 2 is 4, right? You can't really argue that. There's not really much of a counter argument. If you're trying to persuade someone 2 plus 2 is 4, that's just what it is, right? But if you're trying to, if it's something that's very opinionated, like, I don't know, what the best type of grass to put in your yard is, right? For the area that you live in. Every area, there's probably different types of grasses. There's probably people that really think one type of grass. Super random example that I just thought of off the top of my head, right? Something that's not so much maybe fact-based or like real concrete answers. It's kind of a little more opinionated, you definitely need to have that counter argument in there, because then it shows that you looked at everything from all angles. So that's going to be your writing practice assignment this week, is focusing and practicing on your counter argument for your persuasive essay. And then for math this week, we are going to be continuing solving variables. We're going to be doing it using addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, the whole works. So then we're going to keep building on that like we've been doing in weeks before. If you have any issues with it, I do know this is where people start struggling with math, is you start throwing X's and Y's and whatever variable in there, and people are just like, wait a second, that's a letter, that's not a number. And it kind of draws a blank in your mind. So feel free, never hesitate to reach out to me with any math question, well, with any question for that matter. But, especially math, I love math. I like doing math. So if you're struggling in the math, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to make a video for you, or, kind of try and walk you through it, or meet with you one-on-one if that's what you need. So have a great week. Keep powering on, and let me know if you have any questions or concerns. See you next week.